And we are live for the SUSE QE Workshop. Today, as you can see on the screen, topic will be led by mgrifalconi about the quality engineering and also the evolution over the past year. So, Michael, give it a go, please.
Right, thanks, Oliver. So yeah, this is mainly to recap an older presentation that I did a couple of years ago, coming from different companies to share how processes and things were done, and if we could pick some ideas. Um, so let's get started and let's see. Uh, Right. So now we jump into another presentation, which is the older one. And this is what I was talking about a few years ago. And I was trying to, as I mentioned, compare what we were doing and see if we can take some inspiration in that, if something can apply or maybe it's completely different. So what I mentioned some time ago were a few principles, which are many fancy words, but it's not so easy to apply in reality, which is infrastructure as code, automation, uh, trying stuff into multiple cycles. So we first run stuff on development environment, then on staging, then on production. Now I added here since last time an easy way to revert. So even when we deploy something on production, we see something is wrong, there should be a very quick and easy way to go back. Maybe even better if we don't redeploy or uh, remove the deployment, let's say, but we just have a feature flag to disable the new change, and this would be even quicker to react on. And then, of course, HA not only on machine, but also on people. So we don't rely on a single people, that's a single person that can be on vacation or change department or whatever. So asset handling. I wanted to emphasize a bit that it's much better, let's say, to work with cattle and not pets. This means that when we have some machine that we rely on, we don't treat it as a pet and care about that, do little tweaks and changes directly into the machine, and we start to love that machine. And if something breaks, we will never be able to easily replace that. Instead of a cattle concept, if something is wrong, you click a button, it gets destroyed, and you get a new one created in a few minutes. So having everything on as code, having everything on GitHub, and have some automation to allow you to quickly destroy and recreate a new thing. And of course, not only when it breaks, because maybe it happens every once a year or every 2 years, and then the automation is broken because you never tried. You do that weekly, monthly, things like that. Then we go back to ownership responsibility. So where we don't have individuals, but we have teams, we have groups of people, and when some code is merged, something becomes part of a product of a company, we are all equally responsible for it. We will always have the expert that is going to jump into something, and of course we cannot be all completely equal inside a team, but still we should have an idea what this stuff is about and be able to react on that if there is an issue and the expert is not available. Then, of course, we should be able to identify who is the owners, and who means squad, teams, a group of people. And because if you're not entirely sure who is responsible for something, it's also difficult to ask for changes and review and so on. And the last line is again that reviews are done by the owners. So if I'm changing something on a Perl module, let's say on a test for a squad that only impacts that squad, of course, it makes sense that only that squad has veto request veto power on PR to not slow development, but also, of course, everyone is welcome to give insights. But in the end, the only responsible team should be the one to decide what to do. And this is the end of this presentation. In the presentation, now let's look what happened in the last years and what we did. What we did that brought improvements and maybe some newer issues, of course, and what we can still think about for the future. So what happened so far in the infrastructure as code side? We moved a big part of OpenQA configuration that was more like, at least I see that more like the concept of pets as OSD machine, where we put job groups, test suites inside the machine, and then yeah, maybe we have a database backup and so on, but it was more difficult to find who changed what, the big question, and maybe also why. Now we have that on Git, on a few GitLab repos, and it's much easier to look at the history, look at what's happening, and find the reasoning of a change, and also go back to the last working state. We also did a big changes in the responsibilities area, where we moved from a huge aggregate job group where all the aggregate tests were run. And when there was an issue, of course, experienced people and long into the company knew who to ask for when some test was failing. But as a new guy or someone maybe doing some rotation into the department, would have been more difficult to find, yeah, this test is failing. Who is going to fix that? Who is responsible for that? Now we have many job groups that are tied directly to a single squad. So every job group has a squad who is responsible for that. And we moved also the single maintainer, just an email address, a single name on a test, on a Perl module, on OpenQA to a squad, mostly, let's say. I guess we have a lot of leftovers here, but at least when we touch some test, we try to switch to the squad name. Then we also did a big change in the OpenQA review responsibility. From starting from a single individual who was looking at all the test results from all squads and tried to take a decision to force approve stuff that was not being auto-approved because there was always some failures here and there. Now we move the responsibility to the respective squads. So we have the experts of this test who designed, who wrote the test, to decide if it's really a test issue or product issue, and only them can decide if we should override this failure or not. So we are raising a bit the level of safety, let's say, in this topic. Then we have also this new Grafana dashboard where you can look at historic data of updates being blocked, so we can see on which time we were more struggling, on which areas, and try to improve in the place where we needed the most. So are we done on these topics? Well, we moved job groups and test suites to Git. That's awesome. But we moved them to a GitLab repo for a few squads. A few squads moved out from this central, let's say, GitLab repo, and they had their own repo. Now it's difficult to find where is the code again, because the code is in Git, but where exactly? So yeah, we have to look either in OpenQA in the job group definition, and we hopefully have a courtesy link in a comment to find where this Git repo is at the moment. Of course, might be wrong because it's not. It's something that is written as a comment, so it's not tightly related to where exactly this thing is sitting on GitLab. And the issues, another issues that we have is we script, but continuously checks and syncs stuff with OpenQA database. And of course, since we have these forks, the script is duplicated, maybe diverging. Every squad needs to maintain that. So what about having a single repo for all the job groups and test suits in OSD? And then we can have directory for each squad instead of fragmentating this into multiple places that sometimes are difficult to find when you need to look at something. Then we can also argue we have a single script that uploads everything for all squads, or we can have an automation that looks into every directory and run the squad script. So we can have different levels, let's say, of independence, but I would still like to have stuff in a single place and not having things moved around. And for someone who is like to getting a bigger picture of what's happening, it's getting more and more difficult. Then aggregate tests are moved to squad-owned groups, which is also a huge improvement, in my opinion, where we can easily pinpoint which squad should react on a failure. And in the early times was a bit of maybe risk of ping pong of requests and so on. Now it's clear. Of course, a squad can ask for help, but at least we know who is driving the resolution of that failure. Yes, but the issue is it's still kind of difficult for people not super familiar with our department to find, or the area of OpenQA in our department to find the right squad and the right contact points. So we have some informal mapping on the OpenQA job groups description. We have maybe some email, some mailing lists, some names, some Slack channels. Would be great to have some standardized decision here where maybe we have a Slack channel, so you all immediately know where to go, where to ask when we need to have some information. And for example, maintenance coordination sometimes still needs, well, sometimes, most of the time, still needs help of OpenQA reviewer uh, to find who is responsible to fixing some issues on a specific test or job group. Then, yeah, as I mentioned before, we mostly moved from a single human to a squad, but I'm not sure we had some overall task of looking into every module and changing the maintainer name. We have some checks that there is a maintainer field, but I guess we still have a few names here and there of people who changed organization, left the company, and so on. Might be wrong. I didn't check all the per modules, but still maybe we might need to have a look and make sure that we have a squad there and not some random person that is not really the maintainer anymore. Would be nice to have this test moved into the OS Auto Industry OpenSUSE directory as grouped by squads and not by topics, because then I think we can argue that a squad is mostly owning one topic if the topic is not too broad. So we could have a structure like squad topic and then the test. So then it might be become much easier to review stuff, because we know that a pull request into that directory is a pull request for that specific squad to review. And there is maybe less risk of someone reviewing a pull request of a test that is not really related to them, or maybe someone that really needs the change, but the people affected don't have a chance to see the switch. So it would be great to have in this big repository where all of us are maintainer, have clear responsibility and say, okay, this squads reviews this area, this reviews this area. What about common libraries? Yeah, this is a bigger issue. Everybody is responsible for common libraries. Nobody is. And again, we, we need to either be lucky and have someone to review our change before someone else maybe complain and have it in, and maybe nobody notices. Would be great to have a single group responsible where we have some common rules and we apply the same rules to everybody, and there is no risk that something gets merged because it's overlooked and it's approved by someone who has a different, let's say, metrics or rules for approval. Then OpenQA responsibility is moved to respective squads. This is, again, a huge quality of life improvement, at least from the reviewer point of view. Um, we had some struggles in the beginning to handle priorities for all squads to make sure that they constantly review failures, I would say daily or so. And now it's getting much better. We can see that also in some Grafana dashboard, but it's awesome how we have some auto approvals every week or a few times a week, even when nothing huge explodes in the infrastructure side and so on. So it's very good, and we are improving a lot. We still have a problem that we need to sync. So if one test for one squad fails on aggregate, everybody's work is lost for the day because the bot only cares all green today, I approve, otherwise forget it. We try again tomorrow. So would be awesome to have some separation, have the, let's say, test for core squad approves this incident, and tomorrow test for kernel squad approve this incident, and then the incident when we have all the approvals, it's finally approved, and we don't need to be all synced on the same day to have this happen. Which is exactly what we did manually some time ago. So the reviewer was looking if the tests were green in a time span of, let's say, 3-4 days, at least once we were approving. So we did a small step backward here in favor of automation. So now I will show you 5, 6 big ideas, let's say, controversial stuff that we might not agree on, and then I'm looking to discuss about that. And then I'm done. So you can start complaining about the things I mentioned. No, I'm happy to hear about your opinion about all these things. So what can we do in the future to try to improve things? And with things, I mean, approve as much release request we get as quickly as possible without reducing the risk of regressions, which to my understanding is the main goal of our department. So single source of truth to map squad and job groups. This is fairly easy. We could agree that we use the OpenQA description and that's it. Would be nice to have some automated checks to make sure that in the description I can find a Slack channel, and we all agree to put Slack channel there, and then we are done. The important thing is that I would like to have something machine readable, because I would like to base some other tools on this data. So I would like to have my Grafana dashboard that looks at historic results to look at which squad is responsible for this job group, which right now is a nice regular expression on the job group title, which is not nice. Then more structure separation on the AutoIS-D3 OpenSUSE. Yeah, this is what I mentioned already. Having maybe directories divided by squads for test per modules, but also for schedules as well, to be able to better recognize who is responsible for something and also enforce that when it's time to do pull request review. We can have some tools, I guess. Santi was looking into that as well. That requires a specific group of people to review some changes into a specific directory, so we can have GitHub enforce these reviews. Also, yeah, on the schedule side, would be nice to better understand who depends on our stuff. So when I change something on a test that maybe it's owned by my squad, but another squad is running that because my squad is offering a lot of tests which are, let's say, libraries like shutdown or things like that. So I would like to be able to find out where this test is running and easily, because surely you can find out in some way, find out much easily where this is running and who am I impacting when I'm doing a change. Decouple bot and QEM dashboard. This is a much big topic, which is, I guess, very subjective. But I feel like the bot could be able to schedule test and take decision on approval without needing the dashboard database, which is mostly used as cache, but right now is kind of kept in sync. So when you delete a job, let's say it happened a few days ago on OpenQA side, the job will stay in the dashboard and cause some trouble. So I guess you have to delete it manually from the dashboard as well. And yeah, I would not go too much deep into this, but I feel like that we can simplify things and have less dependency. So have less risk of issues. I see a few things in the chat, which I will look as soon as we finish here. But again, all these topics that I'm mentioning for 30 seconds each, we could discuss for a week and not find a solution. So I'm just trying to give you pointers and then hear your opinion about it. Split of a review group to single squads. Oh, this is even bigger. So this is what I mentioned before on the "we try again tomorrow" slide. Right now, you know the issue, and oh, sorry, I will finish and then
Was just
we
confirmations. We will cover all the
yeah
questions and discussion later.
yeah sure. Because if we start discussing on this thing, then maybe we continue until the entire weekend, and I never finish the list of topics. Sorry. Um, so this split is, of course, a painful thing. We would need to split the review group on Smelt and have multiple ones. But this would allow squads to have all tests screen once a week whenever they want and still improve the current situation where maybe a squad have a failure today, tomorrow another one, the next day another squad, and then we never get an auto approval. So of course, in an ideal world, we all have green tests and we get auto approval multiple times a day, but with a lot of tests, a lot of squads and things continuously to grow, I think working in a asynchronous way would give us a lot of breathing space, because then, yeah, everything was approved for our squad today. Tomorrow we can disregard these things if there is nothing urgent and focus on something else. And instead of we spend the day to have everything green today, but not everyone did, or everyone did, but someone failed. There was no auto approval. We start again from scratch tomorrow. Not schedule aggregates on updates already approved by bot. This is An interesting thing I got from Joseph, um, that when the bot, so Quam OpenQA, approves an incident, it's still scheduled on OpenQA aggregates until it's really released. So I think this is a low-hanging fruit. We could fix this, hopefully quite easily, on the place where the bot checks if we need to schedule something or not. Uh, and this would improve the time where aggregate runs, because of course installing an update for no reasons we lose maybe a few minutes, a few seconds. If it's several updates, yeah, this piles up. Secret rotation, yeah, this is a topic that I did not expect to talk about until a few days ago, but luckily I was reminded by these issues exist. And yeah, stuff happens all the time, so it's not a big deal, but we could think about making it easier to rotate. So um, ideally, automate that. I don't know if we can have some API from SCC to get a new code and disable the old one, but would be great to have some CI that just rotates the code once a week. Also because if we leak a code and we don't recognize that, I imagine that someone could use it for years because we have maybe some older codes. So maybe we could think about rotating this, other than, of course, checking all the time if we leak something, but uh, making sure that nothing gets leaked is impossible. Making sure that everything gets rotated every month, that sounds more feasible, of course, if SEC allows that. But having this code in a single place instead of having it scattered all the way and try to find where is this code used before I disable that. And then, oh, something is failing. We didn't rotated that in all the places. Let's see where. So could be a nice thing to look into. Of course, it's painful and uh, let's say it doesn't bring a lot of huge value on our main goal as a department, but that's something I think every company and everyone working with secrets has to do at some point. Review our CI/CD tools. That's another thing coming out from the discussion that our OpenSUSE registry is not in a great shape all the time. And I was looking that the tools we are using for running the bot, but also I'm using on some pipeline too, is GitLab CI, which is meant to build your code when you commit that, and it's not really maybe the right place to run scripts completely unrelated from your code, like we are doing with a bot and with other things. Another problem is that GitLab right now is pulling the image all the time, multiple times every hour from the registry, when we could have cached that somewhere in the worker running this thing. Like I know maybe Jenkins is something prehistoric, but even that could be doing that. I'm pretty sure. So maybe we could look into tools to reduce the dependency. Like we don't need to depend on the Docker, the SUSE registry 5 times an hour to run the bot. We can use the local image, but image doesn't change that often, I guess. So having a little bit look into how we run our CI/CD tools. And this is the end. So I'm ready to hear all the comments, ideas, and so on. And just this last slide is a recap of all the brilliant ideas that we could look into or just forget about immediately. So yeah, what do you think about in general what happened in the last years? Ideas for the future, but also how to improve things that we did in the last years, like this job groups, repositories that kind of diverged, scattered a little bit here and there in GitLab that could be reunited and things like that. I see a lot of things in the chat. Maybe it makes more sense if someone raise their hand and say something instead of me reading again. So, Santi.
Yeah, so a lot of I guess that on both because we kind of work together, and I remember your presentation from the past. A lot of the notes are from me and linking some stories that we already have, or trying to add some context for somebody who wants to dig in further. Um, and one thing I wanted to mention is also that because we have people from OpenSUSE as well, this is not only, or we are not only thinking about um, OpenQA SUSE DE side of things, but also things that are affecting O3 as well, if that wasn't clear during the presentation.
Yeah, sure. Good point. So all these concepts and things can be applied and
Yes. And
everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, and before giving the hand to Oliver, one comment that I have on the SEC records leak mitigation. Um, so one thing that Jose suggested me is to ask for an um, RCF RCE to try to analyze better what happened and what other mitigations we can make from the um, quality engineering department point of view. Uh, RCE stands for
RCA,
root
the root cause
RCA,
analysis.
root cause analysis, exactly. And the intention for that is to figure out what went wrong and what steps we can take. And in part of that discussion was what Michael was suggesting of having an SEC record being generated. Um, but I think that for now, the story that we can basically write um, is mostly what is described in one of the tickets that I linked, which is basically to um, I cannot find it. Give me 1 second. Basically, to have some sort of way to be able to revoke red codes when they get leaked, because this is not a matter of if, but a matter of when. Um, and then Jose had some interesting ideas that we can iterate further.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah. Also reacting on leaks, of course, it's I think we should look into. I see Jose and Oliver with a hand raised.
Yeah, Jose first, please.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to comment on the point you have about having a squad structured OS auto history OpenSUSE. Um, I'm I'm not so much in favor of that idea because we have not only our department but many people from outside contributing to that, and they don't belong to our squads, and I would say that having separation per component would make more sense for something which is open to the world, even though the majority of contributors are from our department probably. But yeah, um, that's one point, because that's not, let's say, the outside or community does not care about squad structure. So I guess they probably care much about component structures. Let's say if there is directories for each component like we have today, I think it's more clear for everyone. And yeah, and about this main job, GitLab repository to store all the job groups, that would make sense. I've seen this repo with sub-modules. That could be one way, but still all the repositories are splitted and the headers are in different, pointing to different places. So I wouldn't mind having everything in single place, but of course that's up to the squads in the end. And yeah, +1 for the rest of the ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your feedbacks. Trying to taking notes so I don't forget about things that I was thinking about as a reply. So as let's
Wait, wait,
start
wait,
from
wait. Sorry, I forgot something. Yeah, because I've seen Asanti saying squads components. No, because there is some components or some tests that are shared among different squads. For example, so use or minimal VM is reutilizing a lot of console tests. So these console tests don't belong to single squad. They belong
Hmm.
to can be different squads. And same for public cloud. Public cloud are using also console tests. So
yeah, I have an answer for that, but
okay.
let me start with up to the squads. When you mentioned about, I agree, moving the job groups back to a single place, but it's up to the squads. I think what we sometimes lack here is something on top of the squads. I don't know, architects maybe, or whichever roles, and maybe we have that. Having someone to decide the structure that needs to be taken by all squads. And I'm not saying that it's not a democracy anymore, but sometimes maybe we still need some common rules, like we all have to pay taxes even in a democracy. You know, uh, we we elect someone to take some decision, and then we need to agree because we will never agree entirely in something. And if we mostly agree that it makes sense to have a single place and then divide it inside the repo, the responsibility, then we should do it. And it's not fair to say if one squads where only one does not want to do it, we scatter things here and there, because then we have again bigger troubles of having things done in a different way in different places, and you never get the overall picture. So uh, it's a delicate matter, but I think that at some point it should not be entirely up to squads. I'm not saying up to me, of course. It should be up to someone who takes a decision. It will not be entirely loved by everyone, but we need some common grounds to be in a bigger organization in a work in a structured way.
Okay. Jose,
On
would you
the
like to? Yeah, okay. Michael, go on. Then I would like to give Jose a possibility to respond, then Phoenix,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then 469.
to go back instead on the components where you said you don't like the idea of having squads as a main, let's say, directory. I understand your point of view because, of course, we have external contributor. I don't care if it's one or 200 or to 20,000. That they are very important, and that's why we are doing this stuff on open source. And that's one of, let's say, biggest company principles. But then I would challenge it with another question. Does a contributor have the possibility to change things, and another contributor have a possibility to merge this request on something that maybe disrupt a squad or the internal SUSE SLE testing? Because if not, I'm still thinking that squads should be able to review things and look what is coming in. Maybe a contributor can be assigned to a squad. If it's a contributor that works on kernel, then it becomes part of a kernel squad review group. So I still think we can separate things in area of responsibility inside or outside the company, and also think that squads are pretty straightforward because we have, let's say, kernel, we have SAP, we have public cloud, and it's pretty clear what topic are they working on. And then we have core as the bin where everything else falls out. So we have a way to find out. And the last thing, then I let you reply. Last thing is when we reutilize components, as I mentioned before, we have like a shutdown test or per module, let's say, not a test, or a boot to desktop. That is used by everyone. Does this mean everyone owns it and everyone can do disruptive changes all the time because it's the owner? I still think we need someone responsible. Maybe core, maybe tools, maybe whoever. But then there is someone responsible for it, for these shared things, and is someone who knows uh, all the people, all the teams, all the components that depends on that, and takes decision according to the number of customer, let's say, that this owner has. That's it.
Okay, Jose, would you like to respond to that, or should we give Phoenix a?
Um, I mean, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, we can't. So I think Michael in general is giving a lot of interesting food for thought. We will definitely not be able to solve all those questions. So, Michael, I can just invite
Yeah,
you
yeah,
to all the
not even one
questions.
is.
Yeah, right.
I'm just giving ideas and things for you to think about, and then we can start epics, start meetings, and talk about it together for weeks. But it's not something we are going to solve. I'm just giving you ideas and see how you react.
Right. So I suggest make sure that for every topic you have an according ticket, link them together, and then people can be sure that there will be follow up for you. Okay. So
Yeah. The biggest question is, should we start discussing about this? And I think it
yes, right.
sounds an idea to start, and then
I think there's a lot of interest in benefiting. Yeah. Next, Phoenix, still interested to give a voice?
Oh, my point was addressed by Michael himself, so that was already answered indirectly.
So then,
Doing so.
right, 469, and then Vit.
Yeah. So in the long run, as I stated in the chat already, and as Oliver just mentioned, we don't need to solve everything today, and this is a lot of food for thought. I linked the QE Core platform team story here. A lot of these items, if they are not linked already, they are. I will be adding them in the upcoming days, weeks. And I really would appreciate also the feedback the same way as you can also give it to Michael, because one of the things that I would like to have is what Mama, who I don't know who they are, but is about QE Core taking basically ownership of the um, as we have been done for a while, taking ownership of these three OpenSUSE, um, and then trying to help other teams to make sure that whatever we have to work with is basically reliable or rock solid in one way or the other. It will need a lot of work, and you have seen, for instance, Jose Gomez already creating pull requests here and there, and that is part of that idea. So while there is no architect, we can try to help coordinate from QE Core.
Good. Next, Vit. Peter.
Hello, hello. So I do not have any questions. I just wanted to thank Michael for the presentation. It was really nice. I really appreciate his work, and I really do agree that there are a lot of ideas and I like them. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one are Papas.
We cannot hear you.
All right, we will give you another chance. Michael, then I have something. It was also mentioned that we don't have an architect. Yeah, I think there are a lot of topics which are, well, we shouldn't wait for one savior, but they are all at least linked to the topic of having rather, let's say, weak technical guidance in the QE department. It gives a lot of liberty to all the implementing parties, but that can explain why we have no single source of truth, why we have different teams using different tooling, different places, maybe sometimes outdated references, why we have such a hard time to split review single squads. So same as you said that still want to have democratic elements in decision making. The problem that I see and that I share, I think, with you in observation is that there's we need at least time to time more persons with a hat on to say I care about the whole picture, because each and every squad has a certain focus and they should have, including, I guess, all the points which are visible on. But that also means that we should be careful when saying like certain technical solution would solve problems when in the end maybe it would only be like a very specific narrow technical solution and bring other caveats along with that, when maybe there's a better approach from starting from the holistic point of view.
I agree that we need, let's say, someone with a hat. That's a good way of saying that. Um, and this goes in contrast with the first thing you say, that we don't need some savior or architect or things, but we could already start. I think that we need something in the middle, because we need someone, which someone means maybe a team again, to take sometimes unpopular decision, because otherwise we can have some great improvement like the one we did with the job groups to Git. But then if everyone does his own thing, we make it better in one way and worse in the other way, because it's then scattered and more difficult and double maintenance and more work and etc. So we need something in between, and we need someone to take decision and to try to enforce that.
Right.
Not
I
saying
mean,
that dictatorship, but
yeah, that is was it just mentioned that is a SUSE internal topic. It's just how it is is explaining the current situation, and the current situation is just objective, and it has maybe some positive points and maybe some negative points. So what we can continue to think about is technical. Anton, would you like to give it another try?
You should be able to hear me now.
Yeah.
Yes. I think what is important for the project, irrespective, all the things are important, but I think what's quite important is the second bullet point, and in that bullet point, structure. We suffer from incomplete for not defined enough code standards, like to an appropriate degree, and we also suffer from drive-by reviews. Anyone can come and review something, and then a simple commit becomes a discussion about the philosophy of programming. We should have some structure, some Bible, where you can say, I did this according to those rules, it's over.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we have some common ground, some contract to respect, and then it's up to the
We don't have,
owner
that's the
of this
problem.
directory. Yeah, but still, maybe we don't have anything, but then it's up to the owner of this directory, this group, this squad to decide. And if it doesn't impact others, it's fine. If it does impact others, then we should write a contract on what we can do to that bothers, let's say, other teams and whatnot, and follow these rules and not discuss things on PRs that maybe we lose time. And again, it depends who is reviewing that. It's an issue. So if someone's reviews something and goes in, then it's fine. We forget about that. And maybe the same thing in another place, it's blocked. And this is a problem.
All right, I think next is 469 again.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
For the next time, just a small rant. For the next time, let's not use meet OpenSUSE.org. I've been kicked like 4 times already. Anyway, is it my turn?
Yes, it's your turn
Because I
now.
was kicked right before. So TLDR, there are a few topics here, and we are really going too deep into the rabbit hole, trying to go into solution mode. And I think that this is not the place right now. Again, I've linked ticket about QE core transformation, and then we can have separate discussions on different topics. But one thing that is important here is that while not having, while architect, technical reviewer, technical whatever, or person that is making the decisions might be a SUSE only thing, we need to take into account that there is a possible community outside of SUSE that is using both projects. So OpenQA, and while for now we are the main consumers on SUSE and OpenSUSE, the main consumers of the test distribution, it might be possible that other partners come into play. Therefore, what I will suggest in this case is to make sure that if, at least for pull requests, so that nothing is, how to say, left at the opinion of the person that is, taking a look whether they want spaces versus tabs on something. Let's keep using pull requests like the one that I'm linking right now, which is about the formatting of the commit messages. And while we don't have a Bible of how to do things, we do have tickets, and there is one about adding more verifications, more checks on the coding style, and this is stated in the contributing guide of Distri OpenSUSE. And to not make it super long, when it comes to making unpopular opinions, we can always make QE core make the annoying choice here, because while everybody might have their own opinion on how to implement something, which is great and that's amazing, I would like us to avoid the problem that Alp is suffering from. Everybody is waiting on somebody else to make a decision. Nothing is being done, and we are late all the time. So what I'm suggesting here is we can help coordinate from QE core. We have a ticket, we have conversations, and then we can start following further.
Right. Okay, so I'm looking at the time. Phoenix, you had been patiently waiting. I'm okay to make an exception now. So you are the person who have the opportunity to finally give one voice, and then back to Michael for a wrap up.
I'm retreating. I leave 469's comments as they are very strong. This is okay.
Very good. +1 by me. So, Michael, any last words?
All right. Well, thanks everyone. So staying until the very end, and I hope that I gave you some ideas, or I let's say took out some ideas that you already had, and you're going to think about it again. Let's follow up in tons of tickets and possibly a few meetings if you're interested. If you have something to discuss or comments, just ping me directly if you want as a first thing before we create some huge or small meetings. We can have an informal chat. And yeah, thanks everybody, and looking forward to talk about this stuff again with you.
Okay, cool. So then I would like to thank you, Michael, for leading that great session. And thank you to all the lively, engaged members here contributing. That concludes this topic. For the next time, because it will be again the first day of the month, we will have the SUSE QE Tools roadmap presentation and discussion. And that maybe is also a good opportunity for you to see what we are planning to do, maybe also what we are not planning to do in relation to the topics that we discussed today. So thank you all for attending, and then see you next time. Goodbye.